Welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. And we'll start with a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes in the council? City Administrator. I have one change I'm going to make. Under 6I, I'm going to move that up to after 3 is completed. And then we'll go back into the regular agenda. For that, any other requests? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under number 2, consent agenda, we have the minutes, the regular city council meeting on May 11th, 2022. Any discussion or questions on the minutes?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 2B, financial reports. Number 1 is the city accounts payable for May 2022. Number 2 is the city financial statements for May 2022. And number 3 is the liquor store profit loss statements for May 2022. Have any questions or discussion on the financial reports? No problems?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 2C. This is number 1, settlement and release agreement between the city of Moose Lake and Michael McNulty. Are we looking for consensus or you want a motion?
You have to have a motion.
Okay. If there's an agreement with all the members, you should have all got the information. I know it.
I'll make a motion to accept the settlement and release agreement.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, this is for public comment. This time reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm here today because I've been having a lot of issues with ATVs on my road. They've been speeding, I've had dirt bikes doing wheelies, cutting through my neighbor's yard, and I have reached my tipping point where I am completely fed up with it. Normally I don't like to come and complain and not offer a solution, but I've got no idea how we can fix this. And it's not even just on the weekends anymore. I had a guy fly by last Monday. He went by twice. I'm assuming he's out of the campground, but I don't know. I called 911 on that one, and I never heard anything. And I would have to assume that the police have better things to do than chase a bunch of kids on ATVs. The only idea I've got that I would love to see is we ban them outright in our town and city limits. I think the reason we have so much traffic up here is because they come from the cities where it has been banned in their town because of the way they ride their machines. I think we could easily write a city ordinance banning them and still permitting local residents within the city limits access to the trails from their homes. You know, I know a couple of kids in town that drive by my house going to the trails. I work with one of their dads, and their kids are respectful and obey the laws, and I don't have any issues with them. The people that I generally have issues with, I see them once. and that tells me they are not from around here. And so yeah, I'll keep coming every month if I have to try to figure something out, but I'd like to see something get done this year. Fortunately enough, I think during the pandemic, it wasn't terrible last year. The year before it was bad. The last year it seemed kind of calm, but I'm already off to a bad start this year. And I don't know if anybody know where I'm at. I live on 7th Street across from the old school, so I tend to get the campground traffic. I know we've had kids going by on golf carts again. They're usually not a problem because golf carts can't go that fast, but I've had golf carts go by at night with no lights on, and that's dangerous too. So yeah, that's all I got. Hopefully, yeah.
I have a question for Darren.
Darren, could you come
Darren,
up?
are you?
I can. I was going to address that anyway on my part.
My question isn't that, my understanding is that is the way it is you're only supposed to be able to take the road from your city directly to the trail.
Right, yeah, they're not supposed to be driving all around. We did have a couple that were from the campground that we did stop and I think cited because they had some that were running right through the stop signs. One of them was the dirt pipe. We did a saturation where we had 6 game wardens here over the weekend, myself and one of ours, and we stopped 100 ATVs in a 5-hour period of time. So, yeah, gets to be a lot, and that's what we're trying to find, that mix, because it is tough for homeowners that have them come by and do something, especially if they have kids. We've reduced speed limits in 2 places where we've had higher complaints, from 30s down to 20s. Most of the people we stopped, I mean, and there's packs of 15 driving in a row, and anybody that lives on the street probably doesn't want to see that coming by on a regular basis. But if they're not breaking the law, that's a set ATV route in the city. That's where they're traveling. But for the most part, we're keeping them off of the state highways because they can't be there. The industrial road and then that new section of trails where they're supposed to be. We've had some talks with Holiday about putting in a new bridge to get to the businesses, because that really shouldn't be to us or any of the ATV clubs, because it's their personal business. So they're going to be putting in a new bridge, or at least funding it. I don't know where this mic is feeding back. But anyway, I don't know, we had a meeting with MnDOT today about a restriping project over the bridge, where they plan to take a look at possibly shifting the 2 lanes a little bit on the bridge and creating a separate ATV lane through there with some delineator posts that can be taken down for snow plowing. So Phil and I met on that this morning. So MnDOT had their engineers here looking at a few different things, so they're trying to figure out options for all these things. It's, I understand where Rob's coming from, because, it's a lot. I mean, even for us out there working it, they're just everywhere. I mean, like I said, most of the time, we probably have 500 here a weekend, Yeah. So it's like, where do they go? What do they do? Yes, it's good for business here. Like, we see Holiday's pumps are full all day long with them. It's just a portion of, maybe we look at some residential areas that they're not allowed, but then you have the one homeowner that lives there, well, I want to drive mine from here to here, and so it's just going to be trying to find that balance. Maybe we look at it again, or with some committee, or have some other people. Like I say, I appreciate you even thinking about options, because what are they? I mean, we can all sit and say, I don't like this, I don't like this, but we got to have a solution for it, and we try to work around as much as we can, from enforcement to design to, whatever. The DNR asked again today about parking for them here, since the depot's no longer available, and there really isn't an option here besides the county one out closer to the freeway of expanding that. The city really doesn't have the property for that. We've all met, we've driven around, we've looked at different sites for it, and it just doesn't.
Have they ever looked at the airport?
I know we talked about it and stuff like that. We were going to talk to, I think, Greg from the county to see about it.
There's a large open area right next to the trail.
Right. So yeah, that's another area we can look at. Because I know we talked about on the north end of town, which again doesn't really lose business for us, because most of the ones that are coming in are coming from the south, and there's no way to get back on there, so they have to come through town anyway. We are. So, to answer your question, I mean, we stopped at town, and we have things in the campground on their, the website for when they book in. They have all the rules and regulations, and we've passed out flyers to everybody. We're trying to get new maps for them, and I get it when you call, it's like, they're probably gone by the time we get there unless they're in the campground. But, yeah, well,
Is Jeff handing out the maps, or the rules and the maps at the campground?
well, I know we put it on the website, so they should have it, and we gave them a stack, and I haven't heard that they've run out, so we'll get them some more. Because we told them that too, when you see them come in and you know they're pulling some ATVs on the back, those are the people that definitely you gotta target, make sure that they know this, and, so,
Okay.
yeah.
I know it's no easy answer. This has come up many times in the past 15 years, and since it was passed for legal to drive in the city, I know it's come up probably 4 times to ban them, and it has never passed to ban them. So we try to work with what we have and make the rules available and more strict. And maybe we can be more strict with what roads they can. That's probably not a bad idea, what streets they can actually drive on.
Yeah, and designate those few, and, you know, really try to keep more out of those really heavy residential, because I get it if you're getting that campground, you know, traffic, because we did have some that were running right through every stop sign, and speed, so we know what's happening, it's just a matter of how many can you catch. You know, you go fishing, you don't catch all the fish in the lake, so it's pretty tough, but, yeah. But I get the frustration, you know, 'cause like I said, if I was living there and I saw them all coming by over and over again, and some, you know, pretty loud, even though that they're doing the speed limit, you got groups of 15 on a pretty regular basis, it gets to be a lot, you know, so.
Darren, would you appreciate having a committee from a city perspective established?
I think we could. I mean, we could get you know, some different groups, somebody, you know, like from the county, ourselves here, some, you know, the residents from around the area that are interested or having any issues, and
Okay.
trying to maybe look at how we can maybe manage the flow of it. But even right now, the bulk of the people that we're stopping, they just don't know where they're going or what to do, and it's the education piece, but when it's new people every weekend coming in, you lose that piece. So, and then we're always usually shorthanded, we can't get 6 game wardens and us every weekend, you know, it's just one person out there trying to do it, so. But yeah, we should look at maybe doing that, and if we have some interest or whatever, we can maybe narrow the routes down a little bit more,
Sure.
so. Very good.
I'm Arnold Beeler. I live up in the trailer park. I'm a past resident 25 years ago. I was here in Moose Lake. I've been back now for 2 years. First of all, I'd like to know city ordinances. What do we have for ordinances in retrospect to cars and vehicles and junk parked along the streets that are there forever, that have been sunk into the road surfaces, full of junk sitting there? It's ridiculous, I think. We go down here to, what is it, 4th Street, and,
Cut it on the Sioux Hill.
no, I'm talking about over here, across from the Veterans Park. Right across the street, there's demolition car has been parked there. There's so many vehicles on that corner, it's an eyesore. And I'd like to see some of this cleaned up. Right down the street here, 2 residents south of the chiropractor. The front yard, there's old mattresses laying there, stacked up, that wind up having to be a health hazard. Rodents have to be getting into those. Stuff like this. I love this community. And my concern is that is there ordinances to address this?
They're online.
We do have an ordinance that addresses some of these, and so I'll give you a copy of this before you leave. So I have printed a copy for you. What we're running into is it's not all inclusive. So we actually share your sentiments and your concerns. In the background, it is something that I'm working on with Chief Jutman to redefine this ordinance to make sure that it's more inclusive to our current needs. In addition, we have some process pieces that we're working on from a city perspective in order to be able to cite residents for violating this ordinance. So we have two avenues that we're working on, and it's A, redefining this ordinance, and then B, the process piece of being able to actually issue citations for this. So,
And I know the ones that Arnie's talking about, because we did talk to the one right on the corner across from the Veterans Park, that these vehicles need to be moved, the registration's out of date, they don't look like they run, and now they're starting to collect a little bit more, and the one they've got, I think, 4 of those derby cars
Yeah,
sitting
right
out there,
down
know that need to be
another
hauled
block,
out.
the next
Yeah, 'cause
block,
They
same
got
thing.
30 days, and it's gotta be an operating vehicle, if it's not, it has to be completely closed in and fenced in.
There you go.
So, we'll get them out of there, I mean, but it's just, you pick at one, even the one with the mattresses, we hit the other one, that's, the person that lives there had a different one, they cleaned that one up, this one's a mess. So, and when it's lawn grass, we have that too, you know,
Yeah.
anything over 8 inches, they gotta get it cut, but we could spend all day going around and doing it, but we do, I agree, I think it's an eyesore, you know, to get it out of there, so. we
I
are
saw it
talking
in
to
health
them.
hazard, you know,
Yeah.
mosquitoes on the long grass, and
Yeah.
that is not quite such a concern, but the new lift station up there on 4th Street where it goes up to the park, RV park, why did they stop tarring that street halfway down? Why did they go to the,
That's gonna be redone, right, that whole section?
and the city streets are almost impassable to drive on?
we're working on that too.
Yeah, I know, it costs money, it costs
It
money.
sure does. I have a copy of this for you here.
No, but I feel the same thing.
Thank you.
Bring it up, it irritates me too, and we talked about it even prior to this, that stuff needs to get cleaned up, so we're addressing some of our ordinances that need to get cleaned up to meet
Well,
standards.
Yeah, to me, there's been a deficiency for several years here, you know, and it's got out of hand.
Yep.
So that's one thing I'm concerned about is that I like Moose Lake. And I want it to look like a nice little city inviting two people to come and live here, you know, as business expansions. We need the money.
I agree with you. 100%.
All right, thank you.
If those of you are there halfway through the summer, you can come yell at me.
I will.
We'll be out of there.
All right, thank you.
right.
I'll excuse myself.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Feel free to follow up.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? We're actually gonna move you up.
This is different, not related.
Different, okay.
Not related. So Sam's Automotive Detailing is doing our car show during Agate Days. He wanted to know if I could bring in a tent with beer there to try to bring people into his area more. I said, that's super pushing it, there are meetings tonight, and I have no idea, I'm not asked anybody, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. If it is too late to talk about that, that's fine with me. If it's not, I'll just throw in a license request and we can do it, whichever you guys think.
Where is that?
It'll be at the Agate Days, he's doing a car show,
Who are you talking about?
Sam's Automotive Detailing,
Where is that located?
right over in the grass section of the event center or arena.
I knew they were gonna do a car show.
It's not in there?
I thought it was gonna be over at the park.
Oh, is it at the park? He said in the grass section of the arena is what he.
Maybe it is,
I don't know.
I assumed it was gonna be over at the.
Yeah.
You would
Like
have-
I said, all I could do is go ask, and I said, I have no idea.
If there's any car show, it would be, oh, that's Agate Days and Art in the Park.
It's gonna be on Sunday.
They always have a car show, I think.
Yeah,
on Sunday.
it's gonna be Sunday. I know the meetings with, you know, the Agate Days Committee, things that were on, that was talking that they were gonna have one. I thought, for some reason, thought it was the park, but maybe not.
They would
And I
not,
recall the park too.
Yeah.
they would not have it at the arena. There's no room for it there at the Agate Days.
I'm pretty sure it's in the park. He thought the same thing at the meeting, that's what we were told, but.
Okay, yeah, I'm just going,
Yeah,
he
right.
requested if I could go, I said, man, I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea, so.
So,
That
yeah,
was
that's-
it, so you guys wanted to discuss it. If you had any questions, I'll answer it, but yeah, I know it's last minute, and if I did go to do it, I'd have to submit a request probably even tomorrow, but.
And when is Agate Days?
July 16th, 17th.
So we would,
It'd be a Sunday, they're gonna do it.
when it's all, you could still apply for the next city council meeting, no? Yeah.
Yeah, it takes almost a month to
would.
process.
It does.
Yeah.
I think there's a
Yeah.
process period, and
So-
so I believe our meeting's on the 13th of July.
Yeah, and I found out just yesterday that he's trying to get more people to come to there to make it bigger or whatever. That's his thought behind the reasoning or whatever, so, yeah, I tell him I'd come to the city council meeting and see what you guys say, and I totally understand I'm not even pushing it, I'm just asking.
If it's something that the council is comfortable with, my recommendation would be, approving a temporary off-sale license contingent upon, whatever contingencies you have, and then I would work with Sean on approving the permit and getting it submitted.
I don't really see anybody, the only thing would be is it's on a Sunday, if there's hours of operation, I don't know what time the car show is, aren't they usually more in the morning, or is it
It's
gonna be?
11 a.m. till 3 p.m. I believe is what he
Okay,
told
so,
me.
I just thought if it was really early, then it probably.
He just wanted me to be there to help bring people in, whatever,
Right.
Who would be serving the alcohol, the muni or somebody else? Or
I would be fine if the meeting was there, or, either one, or if you wanted me to be there, I don't care if, you wanted both of us or one of us only or whatever. Like I said, it's more, he just wants to have something there to kind of try to bring more of an event feel to it.
Up to the council. I think he's not asking the community, so it'd be all your personnel at your cost.
Yeah.
Or that-
And
It's be up to the council on if they want to consider it at this point, contingent on.
It'd be your liability and the car.
Yeah, I pull a $2 million insurance certificate, I just like 6-8 of those a year. You guys would be listed as other insured in case anybody tried to say, hey, it's city property, whatever the case may be. I have that part figured out black and white, no problem there. It's literally like, a few days away from not being able to get that permit. That's why I just had to ask.
Recommendation by the city administrator, I guess it's up to the council.
I have no objections to it.
I don't believe that we turned down any requests in the past that met all legal requirements. And I think they've been a good fit. The brewery's been always coming in and trying to do what's right. They ask the right questions, so I think that they've handled it right. I think that if we do approve it, that we should look at this afterwards and see if there were any issues that need to be addressed, or if it was not a success and wasn't a family type event type deal that doesn't fit in with what we're doing. That's the only thing I would like to look at. Otherwise, I'm fine, trying to.
Elaine, do you have any input?
I don't have any problem with it, it's just,
I think it's a short event too, so it's not gonna be like, people aren't gonna be down there swilling back, 85 years.
great.
A couple beers or saving phones.
Yep.
I think that's
Liquor store.
a great.
That's my only, but it's not.
You have a
It's not a
motion?
deal-
We
deal
need a
breaker.
motion on this, correct?
We would.
Motion to approve.
I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Sean,
We
let's
moved
find a
you
touch
up
base
also.
after.
We moved you up at this time, so you come up to the podium. And this is on Moose Lake Brewing Company, small brewer off-sale license.
You want me to speak to what this is about a little bit?
Yeah, could you please?
So the Minnesota Brewers Guild has worked on this one for about 3 years. It's piggybacked with the growler law, so some of the bigger breweries that make over 20,000 barrels of beer a year can go back to selling growlers. They succeeded in all this, so it's statewide legal now. Municipalities have the right to grant or not to grant all the legal ramifications or all the legal parameters, I should have said. So what I'm asking is that my part of this that I would fit into is I'm a brewery that makes 2,000 or less barrels a year. It's a small brewer's license, and I could, instead of selling only a half a gallon or 750 milliliters, one purchase per guest per day, they could buy a 4-pack. So why this one hits home with me a lot is because the 4-packs I can make with a machine with one guy, easier to produce, less time, less cost per container. And like beers like the higher alcohol, like the whiskey chip, or some of our other beers that are 8 to 12%, 750 milliliters is too much of that one container for one person to bring home and consume. I mean, it's just, it's dangerous. So it would open up another sales opportunity for me to be able to do that. So statewide, it was just legalized the 10 minutes before I brought you the application. So, yeah. And then any questions you'd have, I'm very well versed in it. I could answer all the questions involved with this. But it's one purchase per person per day. They could bring home a 4-pack. We'll never do 6s. We're only going to do 4s. Shouldn't say never 4 now. We're only doing 4s. So they could buy a 4-pack of the whiskey chip instead of a 750 milliliter container of the whiskey chip. That's the difference.
Chief, any input?
No, I mean, they've always been great, running a great establishment there, and we never really have any issues, so I think it's probably a good plan. It's, a safety issue for some of the people, and it's good to see that that's part of the concern, so I think it's a good plan.
Elaine, any input?
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Melissa?
Yes, and we've approved all of their licenses for the brewery, and we've never had an issue, so.
Council, questions in their motion? Motion to approve. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you,
Thanks for
everybody.
coming.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Police chief.
He's supposed to be in the hot seat.
Report for May 2022.
Mayor, members of the council, some of it we've already covered, but I'll run through our May totals. We had 280 calls for service, 77 extra patrol, 87 traffic stops, not including the 100 ATVs we stopped. We had 28 community engagement events, 9 assists to other agencies, and 87 calls for service along with 2 medicals. So summer's definitely kicking into gear this month already. Like I've talked to some of you already, the mental health thing seems to be our biggest challenge right now. We're taking probably 1 to 2 of those calls almost daily, so it's tying us up for quite a bit of time. But we're moving forward, trying to find some other options on a few things, but I think it's probably here to stay. We'll just deal with it as it comes. But a couple of our squads were damaged with hail over this last go around, like everybody else here. And I talked to Alyssa, and I guess Phil and everybody's going to try to get everything together, and we'll move forward with the damage on that. We brought up last time about the new AEDs. We are getting those, so I'm sending the one officer up to UMD for training, so we'll get brand new AEDs for the department. And we're also getting some of the ones from the county that are still functional, that they were just going to get rid of, so we decided to take some of those so we can supply more areas around the city here. So we'll be getting those coming in. And yeah, we brought up the ATV thing in the meeting for today with MnDOT, so I think it was really nice that MnDOT's taking it serious to be on down here with a lot of their engineers and looking at plans to try to do this. I thought it was a pretty good meeting today. Phil was out there. So yeah, we'll look and see where it goes. Mary from the DNR was there for the grants, and now that it is moving up and over there, that is part of the grant and aid trail system, so then we are eligible for grant money to do some of these projects.
I have a question there. When you're talking about ATVs, you're all inclusive with like a side-by-side,
Yes.
and
Yep.
do you find, what do you find is the most problem machine? Is it,
It's the side-by-sides right now that are just driving right down the main lane from one end of town to the other with little kids in there with no helmets and just, going right through town. And, most of the people just don't know where to go. And it's an education piece, and everybody's been pretty polite that we've dealt with. Of course, we get some that aren't too happy. We stopped a couple of the people more than once during the day for speed or different things on certain trails. So, yeah, but we had a busy weekend, and it was good to kick it off. But we'll have new people, this weekend and next weekend. And some will be the same, but it's, the trail routing and stuff like that's going to help a lot. We We did do some markings on some of the pavement, but we'll see over the bridge, but I think people are starting to get the message. Yeah, but it's usually the side-by-sides, they think, I got turn signals, I got lights, I got brakes, so I can drive down the lane of traffic. No, you can't. So, but other than that, that's about all I have. It's, yeah, we've been busy, but if you guys have any questions.
I just really like to see the traffic stops are way up. The proactive policing and police departments are greatly appreciated, especially in the areas of residential. I've seen squads stop and people aren't using stop signs, and you guys are stopping them, so I just thank them.
Yeah, I will appreciate that because it's one of the things we had talked a little while back about that. You know, we need to start picking that up. It's a small town. You walk that balance of things. You don't need to go crazy, but you need to start forcing some of this stuff. It's the only way it's going to keep that balance. So when I send out that pie chart, I would want things kind of balanced on what you're spending your time on. So appreciate that. So yeah, I'll mention it to everybody, and everybody is kind of stepping it up. And
280 calls, that's a lot.
yeah. So yeah, it's probably going to be increasing all through the summer. But yeah, but no, everything's going well. You know, we had a couple people that were out on medical leave that are back, so that helps a lot. So, but yeah, if you guys have any complaints or whatever, it's just easiest to go deal with them right away. And, you know, even with Arnie here tonight, hopefully he knows that we're looking at the same thing he is. So it's just a matter of things take time to get through that. But,
Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
Pass it on, please.
Will do. Thank you.
City Superintendent Department Report for May 2022.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Administrator Owens, very busy month. If you noticed, it seems like we're working on a different corner every day. Whether it's here, there, or everywhere, it's been very busy. We'll start off here in the water department. The month of May, we distributed 5.3 million gallons drinking water. Fire hydrants that were ordered 2 months ago. One is installed just down the street here. The other one we chose to remove. We were gonna reinstall that one. By the time we got down to it, we figured out the utility conflicts we were gonna have as far as we're gonna have to move some storm sewer, we're gonna have to move gas line. And then the water main was undersized there anyway for that leave. There was no reason to put that back in place. From that area, there was 3 other serviceable hydrants within 300 feet of that one location, and that hydrant's been hit 3 times since I've been here. So let's get it out there, right? So we removed that one, which is great because now we got a spare, which it seems like every fall we always need to have another one put in last minute, and right now they're really tough to get. So we're good there. Sewer department collected 21.2 million gallons of wastewater, so we're way up. Everyone knows it's super wet, right? So that means I&I is a problem, right? Right, so lining project, good stuff, right? Yes, absolutely. I think we're talking about that later. Street department pop-off building is always, we've been a little lax on this, not gonna lie, we've been spread pretty thin. We're gonna hit it really hard here before the 4th of July. Got a couple loads of hot mix coming in. Works a lot better for patching material if we have enough left over, which we will. So you'll see some of that happening here at the end of the month for sure. Blacktop patching itself, as far as blade patches, we're gonna start in on them. I think we got almost a dozen of them here. So there's quite a few. 4th Street Road project, we're talking about that a little later here too. Cemeteries, campground, park, for the most part, everything's kind of firing on all cylinders here. It's very busy, spread very thin. Guys are already tired, but we're doing our thing. It's good. It's summer. I mean, it's summer. We love it. So the Class 5 road to the fireworks shooting location. Are you talking about that later? I'll hold off on that too. Cemeteries, they're busy. I mean, weekly we're out there doing burials, so it's very busy. Yeah, kind of a sad thing, but at the same time, it does take up a lot of our time. In your packet on page 50, you will find a whole bunch of forms from Minnesota Pump Works. What those are lift station service checks. A lot of info right there. We're not going to cover it all right now. If anyone has any questions, please track me down. I will gladly go over it with you to whatever detail you would like. We are gonna talk about this a lot in September, because there's a lot of money we gotta spend on our wastewater side and filling stations. So between Alyssa and myself, we're gonna do some discussing there. You're gonna see a pretty good amount of money, I think, in 2023, we're gonna have to put some of this stuff. So just so it's not a shock in September, just throwing it out there, so. I think that's all I have. So any questions?
I got one.
Go ahead.
That, I can't remember the name of what you call it, at the cemetery, the above-ground burial.
Colin Berry, yeah.
Yeah. Any word on that, when that'll start?
Yes, we've been working with Mike. We actually went to see some and got a good idea of like what would be the best fit for our usage, what we liked, what we didn't like about some of the columbariums at other cemeteries in the area. We are waiting and working with Mike on some quotes after having some of those experiences and seeing some of the other columbariums. So we have not yet purchased one, but we will be, and then we'll keep you in the loop as far as what we end up deciding on and what timetables are at that point.
We looked at 4 or 5, and that was actually a really good move, because the first couple we saw were, I would not want them. I mean, I thought they were junk.
There was duct tape involved.
There was plastic containers involved. Yeah, it was terrible. So I mean, there's actually a few more I think we're gonna go look at. I think it's, at first I was thinking, I got a lot better things to do than run around and look at these, but I'm really glad we went with them, because they were junk. And that poor community just north of us is stuck with theirs, and it's too bad. And that's just the way it is.
There were some that had double door plates, so if one was already inscribed and in use, but the other side needed to be utilized, they would have to remove both as one unit and send it off.
Yeah.
And so then somebody else is sitting without their front placard, and then behind it was just a plastic
Yeah.
case front that was taped on. I mean,
It was bad.
so we've learned a lot, and we found some really nice ones, and
Yeah.
hopeful that they'll fall within the approved budget amount, and that's kind of what we're working on in the background.
Because the last thing we want to do is, we're all talking a lot of money, right, for this thing. The last
Yeah.
thing we want to do is get it there and have it be what we found.
Right.
Well, I guess if I could say something, if we find one that we want and it's a little beyond what we talked about, we should re-talk about it, because I don't want to spend that kind of money and just buy something to settle and it's not what we should have.
And that's where we're at, and this
Yeah.
experience also gave us an idea of, what cement work we want done with it, and what, how we want it laid out, or what direction it's facing, and all those different experiences and expansion opportunities. So it's been really good. It's taking a little longer than we had anticipated, but we are making progress on it.
A little bit of effort in this is going to turn this into something just gorgeous, and the community will really appreciate it, so.
Leave it for a few hundred years.
Correct.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Municipal Liquor Store Department report for May 2022.
Let's see, 4th of July is moving right along. It's pretty much in place for that. So hopefully it's a more successful year than last year. It's going to be really drawn out. We're going to have events from the 1st through the 4th. Bands and the beanbag tournament and things like that. So it's going to be a long, fun weekend. The cooler for the under the bar is still out here, but hopefully it'll be here by 4th of July. Haven't heard word from Bruce yet about it, but we're keeping our fingers crossed about that. It's going well down there. It's busy. Tourists are back. Summer people are back, so busy. Anybody have any questions?
I'm just impressed at how busy it is. It's nice to see all the cars parked there.
They haven't found the ice cream truck yet.
Very good.
No,
Thank you.
Anything else?
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
4D, Technology Library Department, monthly update.
Yes, we've been working with Rory in the background on looking at some equipment quotes, and we have received some. They are not equivalent to one another, so we're kind of in the process of dissecting them and kind of trying to determine what our immediate needs are, and then asking for quotes that are more relevant to exactly what those specific needs are, and making sure that we have two equivalent quotes to present. So that's kind of happening in the background. Rory's been working with the school to secure an intern for some summer hours, which is excellent. So they'll be working on, additional content and additional opportunities. So that's exciting. We'll have more information on that to come as well. The library did have a book sale. Laura mentioned that it was extremely successful. I should have numbers on that for next month, but everything's going well in both departments.
We should talk about the room, our spare room over here, just so the council
Sure.
updated on that.
Sure. So there's an office directly adjacent to the council chambers. It had turned into a storage facility primarily. There was a space in there that Rory was utilizing as well for uploading and things of that nature. We are trying to do a little bit of a reorganization, hoping to find some space within our technology room and create a workstation in there. And at that time, then the county would move into that office and have their own office space. That is part of our agreement with the county.
Township.
Or the township. And the township, it's part of our agreement with them. It's something that we've kind of been working towards. There are times where the township comes in and we have our workstations or are utilizing that space, or they don't have any privacy. So I felt like it was important to give them a dedicated space as per their contract, and then that allows us to expand our office space. So looking to give Phil an office space up there and the new admin position and office desk as well. So this will allow us to accomplish all those things.
Township was real happy to hear that about getting back in office.
Makes sense.
Township is very excited, and it was tough having them intermixed with, whatever we had going on in that space. There was no privacy or differentiation, so this will give them a dedicated space to work in. And it's utilizing the space better than it was previously being utilized, so.
And then do we still have a concern or a need for Rory and technology none for a space, because that space is pretty small as well?
It is pretty small. We've been looking at what equipment is still in use, what equipment is no longer in use. We have workstations that we can utilize in the library as well. Looking at having one of those spaces potentially be where the intern's at. We're going to keep being creative and keep finding solutions, and we'll make sure that everybody has what they need.
Great. Any questions? No? City engineer monthly update, meeting minutes.
Yes.
A lot of data there.
There's a lot of information there. Wanted to just kind of extend an open invitation if anybody would like to ever attend any of these meetings. They do get rather lengthy, but the invite is always there. Great stuff is covered. A lot of the items that we covered this month will be addressed later on within the meeting, but a couple of points that I did want to highlight. As we've all seen, the trail, work on the trail has initiated. We have a substantial completion timeline date of June 17th and then a final completion date of June 24th. So it's sounding like we'll be able to meet these timelines at this time. In addition, something that occurred this month is the LCCMR grant application was submitted. The application was for $3.7 million worth of funding for a campground expansion. That has taken place throughout the course of the month. And then in addition, one thing we discussed heavily with the engineers and something we want to look at moving forward is making sure that our budget activities align with timelines that are conducive to getting projects out for bid in a timely fashion. So we're going to look at that when we look at the budget this coming year and make sure that our activities are aligning with what's best for the bid process and for the city in that aspect. So it's something that we're having open dialogue with and that we're just going to continue to work on to do better.
Maybe a little update on, since the legislature at the state walked away from the table with $9 billion sitting there, we're kind of up in the air on that project. We've been trying to work with the state facilities on the sewer. The old sewer line we have and the line we put in the twin roads right up to their front door. So it's kind of in a holding pattern, and we're not sure what direction that's gonna go now. Because that was tied up with all that money, and I don't, the governor has not called them back to the table. So I don't know what'll happen, and I don't think, Phil, you've got any update for your contact up there, and I know you haven't either, Alyssa, so we're just waiting. So we're looking at options.
Yeah, the city engineers have discussed options for moving forward without state funding at this time, and what that looks like between DOC and what the city could potentially budget for or could extend in partnership with the project. So we are going to open those conversations up versus, waiting on a hope and prayer. So we're going to continue to work on that to make sure that we make progress. So our engineers are currently working on the next communication that will be distributed to all parties.
So if we're doing I&I, we can look at that area for I&I funding and hopefully get their participation. Anything else on engineer report? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Chamber of Commerce updates. If you would, Brian, give an update.
Brian?
Update on Chamber?
Oh, no, thank you. I missed part of it, I had to leave early.
Oh, listen to that.
The Chamber's working hard on all their summer events. So they are constantly looking for volunteers. They send out some great communications, have stuff on their website and on their Facebook page if anybody's looking to get involved or to volunteer or to attend events. In addition, they are reworking their job description they accepted a new job description for their executive director position and will be posting for an opening for that position too, effective immediately. So
We're moving from a part-time to a full-time position. So that'll probably come out in July sometime. Moving on to 5 previously discussed business. 5A Lakeshore Drive Culvert Crossing.
So last month, I brought up, what page are we on? Sorry, 68-ish, yep, 68 looks like. Brought up a culvert, a box culvert we need to replace. I think we still look at those pictures, right? Oh, black and white, okay, so yeah, 77, 79 of those pictures. Was asked to have some discussion with DOC. I got a little bit from them, but not much, but it was not a whole lot of cooperation on their end. Regardless, we still need to replace the culvert. Lisa and I met with Ed Delps up there. It was shortly after our last council meeting anyway, and there's a response in here from them pretty much saying, "You're not really helping." But we tried, so I guess I just circled those estimates right back in here for approval for tonight, or more discussion for tonight, deciding what you guys want to do.
I think everyone knows there's old state hospital crossing for cattle to their farm that they had on the opposite side.
Ed heard us, was listening he shared from a perspective on up the line. If it's not on their property, it's hard for them to access and
With fund source.
get funds. So that was the answer that we received.
So what are you recommending, Phil?
We gotta do something. It's in our right of way. When it fails, it's gonna be my phone that rings, and it's gonna be, if it fails, we're gonna be buying a pipe. last minute thrown in a hole there anyway, so. I've
Question.
always been proactive to get things done and just keep things moving on.
Before we discuss more, how in the world do you place that? You put the metal on the inside of the wood because you pull the wood out, will it,
Yep.
you worried about collapsing or
Yep,
what?
so we'll set the pipe first, we'll take the top off completely, set the pipe in place, stay it so it doesn't move, and then pull the sides and then completely backfill and construct it, yep. And then build our toe slopes over
So
it.
have to pull everything off, strip it right down to the box, the wood box.
Correct, and then, you know, that's all wood, and I mean, I don't care what type of wood it is, it's organic, so it will rot, so we do not wanna leave that in there. It should come out. That's the right way to do it, so. I mean, regardless, if it fails, I mean, I get it, I get where you guys are coming from, but if it fails, it's gonna be estimates on it anyway.
To be honest, when I went to look at it, I had more safety concerns after looking at it and seeing it in person than I did prior to. And I have a huge concern that when it's time for plowing, that we could potentially have a bad scenario occur.
Now that we know about it and if some kids went in there and something happened and we hadn't acted, then it would be our fault too. I mean, there's
Well, it's our fault regardless, it's in our right of way.
It is starting to cave in from the inside, and then from the outside on top of the road, there's some issues and could potentially send somebody or something off the road, down into the,
So our lowest bid is $3,001.1806.
correct.
Yes.
Do you recommend them over?
Yeah, absolutely, yep. Jerry does an awesome job, and he's local, he's right here, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion, we accept Kingsley Trailer and Motor Sales quote.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any further questions, discussion?
I'd like to see the 3,118.06 added to their lining project. When it's time, as a line item. That's my only discussion, just because I'm frustrated with them.
Sure.
It was for them, and now the citizens most like are paying for subdivision.
Thank you.
They told the same thing again. That's not.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Phil. Moving on to 5E pedestrian bridge update.
Yes, on page 83, or it starts on page 80. The pictures start on page 83. I just wanted to give a little peek into what the Public Works Department has been working on. We've got the communication from the county that there were some issues with our bridge, our pedestrian bridge. And so what I included in the packet was the fix that the Public Works Department came up with, and the county is just absolutely thrilled with what we've come up with, so much so that they continue to come down here and take a look at it. So it went really well. We have completely satisfied all their requirements, and it's done.
Very good. Thanks, Phil. Thank their crew, please.
Will do, thank you.
Anything else? That's it, move on. 5C, old school property update.
Yes, I gave an update at our last Economic Development Authority meeting, so I just wanted to do the same here. I did have some communications with the owner of the old school property. A couple of items were addressed. He wanted to make sure that the neighboring residents and community was aware that he will continue to maintain the lawn and has hired a mowing service, things of that nature, to try and keep the exterior and the land well kept in the interim here. He shared that he took my recommendation to contact the county for an opportunity to crush materials on site and then sell them to the county. And so what his estimate is, based on their current price, would be a $200,000 deduction of cost for demolition of the building. So it's a step. At the same time, he also shared that estimates for demolition are now approaching $2 million versus $1 million. So the $200,000 materials monies are helpful, but they're a a small dent. So he's continuing to be creative and look around, and I will continue to share updates.
Moving on to 5D, 4th of July fireworks update. And I think we gave that last month. A good idea they came up with, a good suggestion, so you can fill on where we are.
Yeah, so last month we had talked about putting in a road out to the point. That was something that was going to require, or excuse me, accomplish some of the requirements for being able to utilize that as a permanent shoot site moving forward. So I would encourage everybody to head down there. The Public Works Department is working on it. It's not quite done yet, but should be wrapped up by week's end. So it looks great, and it's going really well. So
It'll be done soon.
It opens up that whole tent area, it actually makes it easier for anyone utilizing it, so multiple purpose, so.
absolutely, the way it was designed and the route that was designated will allow it access to the tent site. So it is something that we can continue to use year round.
Thanks. Number 6, new business, 6A, Moose Lake Water and Light easement request.
Mayor, members, council, city administrator. We're working on a double feeder line between the substations. And part of that is putting another line in between, along the Highway 73. And eventually we want to vacate the line that currently goes through there. But just getting the project started, the easement along Highway 73. And it's nicer to go on our property, because if the state expands the right of way, they have to pay us to move those power lines. There, about a few years ago when they had the 73 expansion project, or rework, we had to move some of our power lines. We had to pay those pocket projects there. And also, eventually when we get this in place, we can vacate this other easement eventually. It goes through that, basically the center of the property. That would open up the owners so they can expand in that area. By talking with the city attorney and with the underground ordinance and the right-of-way ordinance, before you proceed having the city attorneys do the paperwork on the easement, it's best to have your approval before.
How far off are we on, we're up, the easement, it goes into the ditch and it goes up, so we're beyond that even.
You have to be up on the bank, top of the bank there, on 73. And where this current easement is, it kind of goes through a swampy area. So it makes maintaining that right of way kind of difficult at times.
So David Johnson, who owns that, the attorneys will do all the coordination and with the easement.
And done with the attorneys, they say any type of like easements, get prior approval, then give it to them, and they'll take off on that.
Questions by the council?
That David Johnson has no problems with this?
He hasn't even seen this yet, sir. And Mr. Johnson has passed away, so his
daughter is running it. So then with our approval, then the attorney can move ahead with easement change. Any other questions or motion?
Motion to what, approve the easement request? I'll make a motion to approve the water line easement request.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on, new business B, 4th Street reconstruction project schedule. Or schedule.
Yep.
more than what from the state would be, it's up to you.
So, we got our first schedule. You'll find our schedule on page 90, by the way, sorry. We got our first one 2 weeks ago, something like that. Looked horrible, looked absolutely horrible. They wanted to start third week in August. Final completion by deer hunting. No, it's horrible. We're never gonna get that done. Had a little discussion with the engineering group. Whatever they did, they came back with this schedule. This one looks amazing. Let's jump all over it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Moved it up 6 weeks at least. Yeah, I think they're thinking like 64 days of actual construction is what they're hoping for. There's 8 or 10 days built in for bad weather or something, but for the most part, I mean, it's only 800 feet or something. It's not the end of the world, so should be pretty good. And I think I don't know how we did this, but
You know, a little bit of pushback goes a long ways.
yep, that I agree with. But
Yeah.
what I don't know how we did was get the pricing we got in the economy we got. That's what I don't have. I have no idea how we got that. So I think we got to take it and run, for sure, hands down. But that's just my input, my opinion.
So we've awarded the bid with consensus or approval of this project schedule, so to speak. I will sign the contract and submit it. So I've not signed the official contract yet. I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware and in agreement with the project schedule.
So, council, and this turns us around from starting in August to starting in July.
Yep.
And,
How are we going to reroute camping and notify campers and camping and how to get in and out of here to the,
Yep, so the notification will be part of FIGHT's signage plan, as far as detours and everything else. Last fall, we actually made provisions to the entrance to the campground and widened that by about 50 feet to make that right-hand radius into the campground with trailers. More than wide enough for two-lane traffic. The downfall is we are gonna have to use the parking lot as the two-way street to go in and out, and we just don't have an option. I'm sure if we worked with them, we can open up that section of 4th Street that is right by the new pump house periodically, around construction. Obviously shut it down for the utilities and then get it back up to gravel surface, open it back up to the intersection, and there we go. But there'll be some up and down, I'm sure, with that. But for the most part, that would be the way to go in and out there. So it's going to be very congested, it's going to be messy, but it's kind of what it is.
When are they going to start in July? Do they have a date?
So they actually say the 26th
Okay.
of June is when they want to start. I don't find that being realistic with contractors. Usually I would say after a long holiday weekend, 4th of July, they probably would hit it pretty hard.
they may do some
excuse me,
staging.
I'm just saying, because don't they have the old-fashioned 4th of July in the park?
So when we have our pre-con meeting with them, we're gonna get into this really hard and bring that up to them that, hey, this is a deadline they have to meet and they have to have all those intersections open anyway, which is probably gonna deter them to start after the 4th regardless. Not to mention it's a holiday weekend, it's the end of the month. They're always a week or two behind. It puts you right into that 4th. It's gonna be, I think, a really good mixture for the city, for the contractor, for anything. I think it'll be just fine. But yes, I totally agree.
When you're pulling in there to the park, are you gonna put signs, no parking on that one side? Because if you have those other ones in the angle and they park there, you'll not get a fifth wheel.
No, you'll get cut off,
So
absolutely.
Post that?
We won't, it'll be part of Vite's signage,
All right.
but yes, it will make sure that all those radiuses can be made, probably both in and out. Yeah, however we get
All right.
it, to make them radiuses, yep. Questions?
Look for a motion,
Yeah, we're looking for a motion. We want to make sure that the council could accept this new timeline schedule. I don't know if we really need a motion.
Not as written.
We need maybe consensus.
Consensus.
Just consensus.
If you're going to re-establish after the 4th.
After a pre-bid is what I would say,
Okay.
that we'll have a better timeline. In the bid documents, they have to have the park open, they have to have 4th Street and Birch, they have to have 3rd and Birch, they have to have everything down there completely open. For that, Egg Days,
There's a triathlon.
triathlon,
We've been working with them on all the
Is there one more?
events.
Or is it just those three? So they have to take down their detour, fill the intersection, make it so it's passable. So they have a big push and a big savings.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just more of a coordination piece between all of us.
So consensus with the new schedule?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a goal.
Excellent.
Moving on to 6C, 2022 sanitary sewer lining project award.
Yes, so the city engineers have made a recommendation to award the project to In Situ Form Technologies. It happens to be the entity that did our lining project last year that submitted the lowest bid in the amount of $290,101 based on their base bid. And so the city attorneys are looking at doing the base bid plus the ad alternate was their recommendation. We have discussed this, and it is something that we have the monies for based on already having that $100,000 for the lining project initially. We'll be utilizing some of that for our GIS mapping system that we've talked about, and a rate study. We will most certainly not be utilizing all of it, and we are actually trying to accomplish a rate study with
Minnesota
Rural Water at no charge. So that's something that we're working on in the background. So we would have the money to do the ad alternate as suggested or recommended by our city engineers.
And that would finish that whole line then all the way to the
west side of the theater.
west side of the theater.
Yep.
If we're able to accomplish all that, then looking forward, we can look to move to other areas, whether that be a project in coordination with DOC or continue on with additional options, but that would at least complete that entire segment.
So council questions and or motion?
Motion to approve as an Instaform, or what's it called?
In situ form.
In Situ Form, sorry, I circled it, I blocked it out. Motion to use In Situ Form Technologies with the base bid of $290,101 and the alternate one bid of $53,317.20.
Good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business, number D, this is the Trail 73 Trail Project, Carlton County Pay Application number 5.
This is a standard pay application. Again, these monies will be submitted for reimbursement. The pay application request amount for number 5 is $55,679.22.
We have a motion from the council.
So moved.
Have a second? Was that correct?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6E, this is another 73 Trail Project, change order number 3.
So change channel order number 3 involves a culvert and a fix. I know a lot of people had mentioned there was a low point in the trail, that there was extra water that was collecting on the trail. So once that was noticed this spring, the city engineers had to go in and kind of rework that area. Bill, you want to jump on?
No, man, you're doing fine. Keep going. I'm here. You're fine.
So yeah, essentially this change order is to rectify the low spot that was collecting water and not allowing drainage. The total change order for number 3 is $13,707.50.
I think everyone saw where that was right past the fire department. I have a motion to accept the change order. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6F, this is another 73 jail project, change order number 4.
Yes, so this change order is for a hydrant riser. I don't know if you've noticed as well, along that same kind of section a little further down the way, there is a fire hydrant that's currently underwater. So in order to raise it up, which will be required, this change order rectifies that issue. The change order number 4 is in the amount of $2,268.40. With all these change orders, I just want to make mention that we've had some really in-depth conversations and serious conversations with the engineers regarding fault, liability. Is this something that just occurs and we wouldn't know that the grading was off, or was this part of the original plan? Where some of that lies, we put a little pressure back on our city engineers just to make sure that everybody's held accountable. And so these are two that are tough for us to swallow, but we have put that pressure on. We pushed a little bit harder on this change order number 4 to the point where we are getting a lot for this money. They are also going to regrade around the area and add fill.
Yep, correct, yep.
So with that push, I think we're getting more than our money's worth on this particular change order. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that we are working in the background to make sure that these are appropriate, and yeah, we'll continue to do that.
We're, as a group effort, the mayor, administrator, myself, we're really looking into a lot of this. A lot of these just get thrown in quick, and we're starting to realize how we need to look at them closer. I mean, this one these just shot right through, and that's fine, whatever. But as far as before they get to this stage, I need to start asking a lot more questions. And I really did with one that they brought up to the table that we ended up exiting. But it's like anything else. You know, we pay a lot of money to these people, to this company, a lot, and they do a great job. But we just need to make sure they're still working for us. Yep, 100%. And we need to hold their feet to the fire and hold everybody accountable. And there just needs to be a little bit more time dug in there and looked at. And it's easy to get looked over. We all get busy, but it's something that we can't neglect.
Due diligence.
Yep, absolutely.
There was an additional change order recommended that we did deny. That change order was for some signage on the trail that we were able to acquire, or will be able to acquire the signs in-house, and our public works staff will be able to put it up for a fraction of the cost of the change order. So just wanted to provide a little visibility into what we're doing in the background when we do receive these. And there's other stuff that's taking place to make sure that we do our due diligence.
Because last year, I think we had about 5 or 6 that we dealt with at one meeting.
Correct.
We just talked about one of our departments being a lot of money in our budget. And so thank you for doing that, because this is something that I think we do need to hold them accountable.
Yep. The well house, that was a tough one. There was a lot of unknowns in that well house. And all projects are different too. These trails, it seems to me, it seems like a really simple project to have the change orders that are trying to come to the table, which we're trying to address. No, let them come to the table. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So.
They do happen.
They do, absolutely. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have them, but they need to get looked at.
So we have a motion to approve change order number 4.
So moved.
You have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6G, mill and overlay options. This is something that I had asked for.
Yep.
Just to give us an idea of what, where, and how.
Yep, at the last meeting, Ted, yeah, that was. You asked me to look for, I believe it was 2 sections. I kind of found what you were asking for, but as best as we could put together anyway. And it turned out to be a 2-block section on Douglas Avenue, 1st Street to 3rd Street. It does have a little bit of utilities on it on the north block. There's about 300 feet of water main, and then the intersection there has sanitary and water in it as well. But we were looking for the intersection of the sections of road that have the least, if not any, utilities in them at all. And I wanted to provide a 1-block option for you and then a 2-block option for you. So the first one you're looking at there is Douglas Avenue. It's called out as number 29 on our CIP list. So we've been doing this since 2019. 2022, we're just doing our first project, this is number 29, right? So, okay, this pricing is coming out to be about $4.20 a square foot to mill, shape, and overlay. So that gives you that, roughly that 2-block area, including 2 intersections and starting and falling short from the 3rd or the north intersection of 3rd and Douglas, just because of the utilities that are in that intersection we want to cover up, obviously, right? We got to pick and choose a spot to start, and might as well make it so it works for us, right? That comes out to just shy of $100,000, just to mill and overlay. The next option is up on Sioux Hill, it's Hickory Avenue. That I left out the intersections completely because there's some serious utility construction that has to happen in both those intersections as well. So it's basically from edge of right-of-way line to edge of right-of-way line, excluding the intersections, which was about 300 feet. That's your $4.20 square foot, figured out to be about $41,580 to do that 300 feet. And that's mill, shape, and overlay.
How much was the cost on the first one that you
It's
said?
a double. It's on that previous page. It's 99,792. It's up in the upper right-hand corner. If you could read my handwriting, I apologize.
Okay, I just want the council to see some of this, and if they're, what are we on, the 29th and the 57th project, so they're probably 20 years out. Longer.
Way longer.
30,
I won't be
30
for the
years
time.
out.
No.
So something I want that council to think about in this next month, if you want to look at and tackling one of these. We'll have a better handle on the budget at that time on where we are with the projects that we're going, and if there's any surprises. And we may not do anything with them this year, but maybe next year we budget to do some kind of overlay on one of these, just to get a handle on some of these that are so far out and they are so bad that we should do something someday.
Well, question is, when the pavers are here to do 4th Street, I mean, because I know a lot of the cost comes into setting up.
Yep,
and
mobilization.
would this reduce the cost of one of these?
I can sure ask them. They'll be in town for 2.5 months. As soon as they get here and I get a little bit of a relationship with them, we throw in the truck and take a look and see if we can get some numbers. If you want me to get numbers on those 2 areas, I will, absolutely.
Well, I would say the one that's the closest to what we're doing would be the Douglas, the 29th, that's the 2 blocks in town.
Yep.
And it's the closest to the project that we're working on. That would probably make the most sense in my eyes.
It's pretty bad down there on that, between 2nd and 1st, if I remember. That's really bad.
The guys hate going there because they stay there all day. Because it takes the most amount of material. Just keep in mind, you are covering up water main that's 70 years old by doing that section.
But it's how many years out?
I get that, Ted, I totally do, I really do, but
We
I
may
just,
get it, we may get to there
because
in
we
30
just, we were
years.
just digging there last week and a half, and we were there till dark almost, and it's, and I personally saw it myself, and it was not, it's old, and it's undersized, but I get your concern, absolutely. Even a mill and overlay
We have
would.
to do something with some of these streets.
I get it, because that mill and overlay we decide to do,
Yeah.
that'll be gone twice before we even get to put the pipe in the ground there.
I know.
I understand.
But if we tackle, to me, a reasonable amount, a little bit every year, every couple of years, we gotta do some of these that are so far out that I'll never see those
Well,
ones
some
down
of them
there.
that are doing the worst too. I mean,
30 years, I would have to be 100 years, 102.
For me, I appreciated seeing this information, essentially as we look at next year's budget and we look at items and ways that, you know, when we have monies available, what can we have the most impact with? So keeping these figures in mind and as we plan and come August, as we start to look at things, I mean, is just gonna be really helpful. And if the council decides to implement some type of maintenance program, you know, we can look at that, or at least continue to provide information for consideration.
Yeah, I think we have to at some point here. Thank you, appreciate that, and you will look more into it, more data for council for
Absolutely.
next month.
Yep.
Thank you.
Probably not next month.
In August then.
Probably in August, I'll have you some numbers up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to 6H Riverside Arena door replacement quotes.
Yep, in the packet, you'll see 2 quotes. This is a budgeted item for 2022. I have audit on the brain. For 2022 for the arena, so we have secured these 2 quotes, and they come in, both of them come in under the budgeted amount.
Is the recommendation to go with that 16 gauge door for a little bit extra money, or it doesn't matter?
I would, yeah, absolutely.
Any questions or a motion?
Well, it looks like the one's cheapest for 25, correct, 2530, is that one on the board?
Correct.
And go with the $99. So Northern, my motion would be for Northern Door and Hardware Inc. for the door, the quote number 22-0785, 2530, and then the $99 for the 16 gauge door.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6J, Legacy of Excellence gambling permit.
Yes, the Legacy of Excellence is holding a summer gala, and with that, they'd like to have a raffle, so they are requesting the council approve a off-site gambling license.
At the Sioux Lane Event Center.
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6K Post 379 gambling permit.
Yep, this again is an off-site gambling permit. This is for the American Legion for their 4th of July activities. And they are making a request to council to approve the off-site gambling permit.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6L, debt fund balance deficit.
So you'll see included in the packet a proposed journal entry from our auditors. So we were notified by our auditors of a legal compliance finding within our 2021 audit. And what that entails is the finding stems from a state statute that requires the city levy for 105% of the debt service amounts. So meaning the principal and interest payments combined and the annual figures of those for each of our debt service funds. So after not raising the levy for 4 years and then issuing some more debt, we have fallen below that state requirement, and that's what that state statute requires. So this initial communication essentially just allows us to be in compliance with the state statute by making this journal entry. So as written, this needs to be approved for our 2021 audit. In addition, when they come and do the exit presentation next month, they are going to have a lot of information and recommendations for what needs to occur with the levy for this next budget cycle. So
I think this is good that we are at this point that we have not overtaxed to the point where, okay, now we do have to raise the levy, because we hit the point where that balance is between debt and reserve. So we're right at the point where, to me, we should be at. We're not overtaxing, yet we do have reserve. So it'll be, to me, a good discussion when they go over that.
absolutely. And the debt service funds are separate from the general fund. So we're actually taking monies from the general fund and putting them to the debt service funds. So it's not that we don't have monies in the general fund, enough monies in the general fund. It's how, when our bonds were issued, what the verbiage was, and our bonds are issued based on being able to pay them through our levy. So because we haven't essentially assigned them sales tax or gas franchise fee or whatever these other monies are that we have coming in as revenue to be assigned to our debt payments, it leaves the debt service funds off on an island. So we need to make sure that we are assigning monies to them, and the monies that are assigning to them come in through our levy.
And we still have the reserve that we need.
Correct.
We're in a good place with our reserve.
I think with the newest debt that we issued, and then the debt service fund balance was just kind of dwindling. So at some point, whether it be 4 or 5 years ago, there was a sufficient fund balance in there, and then it just kind of slowly started to dwindle down. And so it is something that they caught this year, and that will have to be addressed for the next year.
Question, under these bonds, is there a way to make an addendum to the verbiage in there, or is that set in stone?
I've had those same questions, and we actually looked at just doing internal journal entries and utilizing some of the sales tax monies or natural gas franchise fees or things of that nature in order to cover our debt service payments, because that's essentially what we're doing anyways as those monies come into the general fund. Because of the verbiage of how those other entity or other forms of revenue were passed, it wasn't identified in the sales tax that we could utilize it for bond payments. So because of the verbiage in those other items, we now are at the point where we just have to use levy and general fund monies.
So then can we change that verbiage?
We can ask.
I think that we should, because I don't see any point in us raising a levy. We're going to have to, as the mayor stated, at some point, but we all know that a 5% levy increase is going to increase our income about $25,000. And it's the 30% of the population that's paying 100% of the bill. And there's no reason for that in my mind. I'd rather go backwards and see, can we change that verbiage or how, or make an amendment to something and make it right, because there's no reason to tax people that are paying 100% of the bill.
And I think our auditors will have some suggestions for us, and they may be able to answer that exact question.
And that's what we initially looked at doing this year, and we're kind of strapped with how it's verbed now. So they can provide a recommendation as far as would they recommend we do that, or would they recommend we use other monies. We talked about using the monies that come in from the township as part of utilities and rent and things of that nature. There's monies coming in there. It's just a matter of it has to be identified and defined, and because it's not currently, we are out of compliance.
This is informational only at this time.
I actually need a
You do
motion
need a
to
motion
approve,
tonight.
because we are transferring funds
Okay.
from our general fund to our debt service funds.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to do those transfers.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6M Verizon Wireless Utility Easement Request.
Yes, so I received a request from Verizon Wireless for an easement. What they're looking to accomplish is essentially putting an antenna on top of the Hillside Manor East to increase service in the downtown area. This project and conversation started prior to my arrival, so I know that there were a couple of solutions thrown out there as far as the water tower, other types of service towers, things of that nature. Thus far, we've been unable to reach an agreed upon approach with Verizon. When they came to us with this request, I did send information to the relevant city departments, and we have some utility conflicts within the requested easement. And there's sewer main on the south side, we have a conflict with a manhole as well. So at this time, what they're requesting is not something I would recommend for the city as it stands currently. So, open to further discussion. I just wanted to make sure that I communicated from a city perspective and our city departments there. We do have some issues with what's being presented here.
They were not willing to pay for the movement or correction of any of the utilities, right?
Correct. Correct.
So that's why would we give them an easement when they're not gonna pay for all the work that needs to be done?
Correct.
So, open up for discussion or motion.
If we turn this down, where do we go, where does Verizon go from there?
I would like to open conversations back up with them and just kind of see if they want to increase their service in the area, then they're going to be willing to work with us. This isn't what's best for the city.
This costs us more money than we're not budgeted for. And if they really wanted this, then
This
and
pertains,
it was so important to them, then why wouldn't they help us with the?
this pertains to the Verizon customers only.
Motion to deny the utility easement for Verizon.
Second? Greg seconded. All in favor? Further questions?
So you will talk to them again, see if there's something else that we could possibly work out, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It just has to be in the best interest of the city as well. Correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 6N, Neighborhood Revitalization Program Repayment Request.
Yes, I just wanted to, this is kind of for your information only. We were notified by Carleton County of a repayment of indebtedness that it's not budgeted for. It's something that we really weren't aware of. I know I wasn't aware of. So it looks like we owe them some monies starting in 2022 and through 2024. I just wanted to make you aware, I'm going to make a request with the county that we combine some of the payments and put them into the budget within the scope of the next couple of years. So whatever that looks like, I will continue to work on that. It was a little bit of a surprise, not anything that we can't handle, but we're going to try and make it work in an upcoming budget versus this year.
This is the kind of thing that has happened when you have change out of administrators. It seems like there's always something that is not passed on. It happened with Talbot and with Pat and with Tim and now with Katie. And it's just something we have to deal with. It's the demolition of the Moose building.
Yeah, I recall that discussion, but I don't recall us borrowing money. I thought that there was a requirement that it had to be a parking lot or something that we couldn't build on it. There wasn't anything that the city council agreed to that we were going to be paying them back money that I recall.
I don't recall either.
So we're going to continue to look into it. If any monies are required, we'll make sure that we can do so within a budget versus, just throwing it out there and trying to make it work. This kind of brings about a secondary discussion too. We'll be, at the end of June, we'll be reviewing all department heads' budget with them and, take a looking at everything. It's tough with gas prices and the way everything's going. I mean, things are a little tight and we want to make sure we stay on top of it. Times are tough, everything's a little more expensive, so not the time to just be throwing stuff in like this. So we're just going to keep working on it, and we'll have some updates after we do kind of a mid-year evaluation of where we're at, and just keep working on it. So.
At the time when Tim made this agreement, how that was to be paid back, or what the requirements are. To me, I understood it that, and the way Tim explained it, that we would be demolishing the building And if we don't sell it, which we haven't, then the money is covered by the county.
Yeah.
But when I read through this loan agreement, if you guys have it, I'm hearing a little bit different story. And now I understand a little bit why we had an offer on the land, and Katie said, no, it has to be sold for $25,000. So now I understand why she said that. And of course, the person didn't want to buy it for that dollar amount. It's such a small lot. It's not even a full lot. So this one's a little bit of a surprise. And I think the county will work with us and allow us to budget for it instead of coming out of our general fund, because we do not have it as a budget item for this year. Do you need any added information? Water Environment Federation Auto Sampler Package Grant Award.
Yes, I just wanted to, okay, so was it 2 council meetings ago where we presented the opportunity for testing for our phosphorus management plan?
Yeah, I think it was, that we
So-
decided to table until fall.
Correct. So Phil made the recommendation a couple months ago that we weren't going to act at this time. I believe it was a $12,000 proposal for testing that our engineers were throwing at us with our phosphorus management plan. So in the background, Phil applied for this program in order to acquire an automatic sampler, and we have been we awarded a grant for one. So Bill, do you have a dollar value on that?
Yeah, so the unit itself is, I think, about $4,000, and our rental fees for that program that we were gonna have to do would have been about $8,000 to $9,000 just for 2 months to do this. We're still gonna have to pay SEH a little money to take all the data that we collect and send in to analyze everything, figure out where our spikes are, figure out kind of what the problem is, or what we're thinking what the problem is, but we cut that number down by at least $8,000. And we have a new piece of really cool equipment that I can use all the time, so that's awesome.
So this is informational right now, and congratulations on getting awarded the grant, which is great. Hey, if that saves us money, we're all for it.
Can I sit down now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, no problem.
Ask Bill about the ATV problem.
Yeah.
I like that.
I know.
All right.
Terrible.
Thank you, Phil.
Yep, you're welcome.
7B, Minnesota Department of Health Source Water Protection Competitive Grant Award.
Yes, so this is another grant that we applied for. I know this has been mentioned previously. This is another $4,500 grant that has been secured. So all in all, I believe we're about 14.5. The project is going to cost us about 19 to 20. So we have secured funding for 75% of our project.
So we're actually covering expenses up here for this neighborhood revitalization. We're coming out even almost. Keep it up, Phil.
We'll just keep on going. Yep.
Thank you. That's great news. 7C, Blandin Foundation Grant.
Yes, this is again something that was kind of shared with the Economic Development Authority, and I just wanted to make the council aware. We are looking for all opportunities that are available to get funding to start to spur development in the area. So this opportunity came up with the Blandin Foundation. They are willing to award grants in up to $150,000. So I did submit a letter of interest for $150,000 for to be utilized for development up where the small area development plan has currently been established. So idea behind this would be the $150,000 would be utilized to start to move city infrastructure into the development to try and help spur sales and future development. So there were a lot of submissions. There were over 300 letters of interest for over more than $24 million. Long way to go, but more or less just wanted to provide visibility to things that we're working on in the background, just to try and continue to make progress.
If you don't apply, you don't get
If you
it.
don't apply, you don't get it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. 8, committee and board meeting minutes. Moose Lake Area Fire District, we have none. Moose Lake Park Board and Recreation, none.
Yeah, so with our early meeting this month, we're
Yeah.
just kind of out of cycle. So I will make sure that they're included in the next month's packet.
Moving on to 9, announcement, regular Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, July 13th, 4 p.m. right here. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority, Wednesday, June 15th, 12 p.m., the city conference room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission, regular meeting Tuesday, June 21st, 1 p.m., Water and Light office. Moose Lake Housing Redevelopment Authority Board, Monday, June 13th, 11 a.m., Hillside Manor office. Moose Lake Area Fire District, Tuesday, June 14th, 6:30 p.m., Emergency Response Center. Now, the park board one, that will be changed to 3 p.m. the next month.
5 p.m. So it went from 6:30 up to 5 p.m.
Excuse me.
Correct. Yep.
Moose Lake Park Board meeting Monday, July 11th, 5 p.m. right here. Do you have a motion to adjourn? Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everyone.